Good afternoon and welcome to International Forum. I am Wilson Omasha. Today is all about the Russia-Ukraine war. It has assumed another dimension in the sense that what nobody saw coming is happening. The Russians, even the world didn't see it coming. Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, has given a marching order for there to be a cross-border offensive against the Russians, and right now that is what is happening. From what he said, they've been able, or they are still controlling, as at Monday, Tuesday, 1,000 kilometers square, yes, meters of the Russian territory. And Putin has reacted to it, saying they're going to chase out the enemies from their territory. These new tactics, do you think, is going to bring the much awaited results in this particular conflict come war to favor the Ukrainians, or is it going to make Vladimir Putin to go berserk and use whatever he can use to make sure that Ukraine would not try to cross over to the Russian territory to start intimidating the villages along the borderline? How do you think all this will pan out? With me here in the studio, I have a legal practitioner, legal affairs commentator. Join me to welcome Barrister Abayomi Thomas. Welcome to International Forum.
Good afternoon, viewers. Good afternoon.
You're right. I appreciate your coming.
Thank you.
Sitting very close to him, he is a legal practitioner, legal affairs commentator, human rights activist. Join me to welcome Barrister Emmanuel Obakbolo. Barrister, welcome to International Forum.
It's a delight being here. Good afternoon, Wilson.
Right. Now, let me start off with you, Barrister A.B. Thomas. With this move by the Ukrainian soldiers crossing over to the Russian side to terrorize Russians just the way they've been doing to Ukraine, do you think it's a smart move?
Definitely it's a smart move. And this is the only way there can be peace. There will be a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine to be handled by United Nations. You see, Russia has been the one dictating the pace of the war. They invaded a sovereign country, refused to listen to United Nations Security Council, UNSC. They refused to listen to anybody. You invaded another country, and you have subjected that country to serious bombardments and killings. So the battlefield has always been inside Ukraine. To the erroneous belief of the Russians that they can annex 6 regions from Ukraine, to the extent that their own National Assembly, called the Politburo, went and amended their constitution to add the areas in Ukraine annexed to Russia. All right, good. You see, in the old Soviet Union, the soldiers that made Soviet Union really strong were actually the Ukrainians and the Uzbeks from Uzbekistan. All these Ukrainians needed were just good weapons, which they are now getting from the Western world, particularly from America. Now that they have gone into Russia, it now becomes a quid pro quo. It's not a quid pro quo. So if you are now saying you won't leave Ukraine, then they hold on to your territory. Let's exchange. Because Russia has been behaving as if, oh, we have already taken this. In fact, when Trump has been campaigning, Trump already has been having that mindset that once he becomes a president of America, and that is if he wins, that he will tell the Ukrainians to allow Russia to take the territories they have conquered in exchange for peace. And that is why the Ukrainians, looking at the American election coming up very soon, and the fact that their godfather, Biden, is no longer contesting, anything can happen from America. So they decided to take a smart move to go into Russia, seize some territories as large as it is possible. So when you are talking, when anybody wins election in America, whoever wins, when they are talking of peace deal, Ukrainians will have something to put on the table. We will leave your territory, you leave your ours.
Okay. All right, I'll come back to you, Barrister. Barrister Emmanuel Obagbolo, he said it's a smart move made by the Ukrainians to enter into Russian territory and occupy over 1,000 square miles, and Putin is saying that they're going to chase out the enemies. Yes, there have been repercussions, all right? They've been counter-offensive. They've been evacuated the villagers in the outskirts of the particular region because of what they tend to do. Don't you think this is like a miscalculation on the part of Zelensky, knowing fully well that they're complaining, or we're complaining about shortage of manpower and shortage of military weapons? Take it up from there.
I want to quickly align myself with my learned senior and the father, because if you look at the situation just now, Russia, today is the 900th day of the war, so above 2 years now. At the beginning, before the emergence or the aftermath of, before the war started, the way Putin thought that he was just going to run through Ukraine, forgetting that this same Ukraine is a sister country to the present day Russia. And once upon a time, they were both the USSR, together along with other countries like Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Commonwealth of Independent States, Bosnia, Herzegovina. And the powerhouse of war as at that time, those who had the men, are Ukrainians. Even some of the powerful APC tanks were produced by Ukraine then. And his wish and thought hasn't come to pass so easily. And it is indeed, I think the American election is a determinant to the peace in Ukraine. And that is the singular reason why Zelensky, in his wisdom, has taken this step. And I think it's a brilliant, intelligent one that he has taken. Because if you look at it now, presently Ukrainian soldiers are occupying Kush and Belgorod. And now, these two territories belong to
not all
Russia.
Of Kush and Belgorod,
yes, not all. Just part of, yes. And so, whether it's an inch of the Russian territory is something. Just like Balena said, you have something to put on the table by the time we are going to discuss about peace. Unlike where you allow Russia to just go through and take a larger part of the Ukrainian territory. But this time around, it's not so. So it has gone to, this war has shown that the once upon a time Goliath may not easily crush the David, though not biblical. So, and that is why you see Ukraine does need weapon. They have the intelligent military training to assist them or help them to see that they get a better part of this war, even if they are not going to conquer any territory as it stands. But they can beat their chest and say, indeed, we have tried. And I think I give it to them just now, though they have support of the international community in Europe, particularly Europe and the United States of America, because sympathizers have been with them to ensure that Russia does not crush Ukraine like she thought. So it's a good one, taking part, and I see them progressing again. So Russia is not really going to find it very easy with this war. And I think the better part or the best thing to do just now is to embrace peace and see that that part of Europe is settled.
All right. To embrace peace, I said that part of Europe is settled. Someone saying that this is a desperate move by Zelensky. Before he made this move, when the world knew that this was what Ukraine was doing, Zelensky said that they wasn't be afraid to attack Russia because of what they're doing inside of Ukraine. Aside some respondents saying that this is a desperate move, that Ukrainian soldiers, they're already thin, trying to defend their own territory, and now making this kind of move, we make them further spread too thin. Hence, they can only be, how would you call them now, irritations or irritants in this particular Russian territory that they won't be able to hold on to it for a week. Take it up from there. From desperation and occupying where you've, like, you know, captured
positive desperation is a good tactics in war. You try something that nobody ever thought you can do. And if I was told 2 weeks ago that Ukrainians will go into Russia, I would dispute it. Now, if you have been following this war, it is an offense within Russia to describe what is happening between Russia and Ukraine as a war, punishable by 7 years imprisonment with hard labor. So Russia, led by Putin and the Politburo, they've been deceiving the Russians by saying they are on a special military operation. That's what they call it in Russia. Take the war to them. Then the Russians will now feel the impact of the special military operation, that is not but a war. If you are a good footballer, you will know that the best form of defense is attack. So, no matter how tiny the space in Russia is, and no matter how few the Russian soldiers are, and no matter how few the weapons the Ukrainians have, it is the quality of the weapons. Now that the bipartisan American politics has opened the doors for Ukrainians to get the quality of weapons they wanted, they cannot shoot from Ukraine into Russian territory 500 miles away. So you take the war to the Russians. Let them also feel it. If Ukraine were to be an African country, the people would have toppled Zelensky because they believe too much in religion. They pray to God and God is not performing the magic they want. They will topple Zelensky. But these are people who believe in themselves, who believe that, look, our country is worth sacrificing our lives for. How many people in Ukraine? 14 million. How many people in Russia? 88 million. Russia was the first to do massive mobilization. And the Soviet Union tactics of war, which included in the past Ukraine and Russia, was massive sacrifice of human beings to gain an inch of territory. So you'll be surprised to hear that Russia sacrifices about 100,000 human beings just to get 1 kilometer inside Ukraine.
But that is not the report right now.
But right now, you will now find that the Ukrainians who have fewer soldiers gaining some territory in Russia with better and more sophisticated weapons, no matter how few. So, if you are thinking of, oh, they are sticking themselves so tightly over a border of about 1,000 kilometers, it's not true. The truth is that Russia is now being forced to withdraw their troops to defend the homeland. Otherwise, the Ukrainians will just march into Moscow. So it is in their own interest to withdraw the troops inside Ukraine to defend their own homeland. If you don't do it, what Wagner and Progozhin, who is now late, failed to do, Ukraine will do it. If Progozhin was intelligent enough, he wouldn't have stopped the march to Moscow. Because stopping his march to Moscow was a death sentence, and he paid for it dearly with his life. So the Ukrainians should not even stop. They should continue. They should listen to Americans. They should just continue. So when you now talk of peace deal, you have something to table.
All right.
Like I said, quid pro quo.
Quid pro quo.
You give me this, I give you this.
Fine. Now, some are saying that this march is a march of doom. In the sense that, from what they've analyzed, they can't go beyond this region. Now, what you rightly said, at population, military-wise, Russians, they have it. And for the video, Putin showed to the Russians how they dismantled the armored personnel carrier that crossed over from Ukraine to Russia. That to them, this is how they'll be dealing with the enemy that choose to cross over. And this, according to report, might make Putin take a terrible, drastic action that might just change the tide of war against the Ukrainian. What do you have to say about this analysis?
I do not think so. Because if you look at the war just now, attention has been shifted from Donetsk to even Russia now. Before now, the report has it. Analysts, bookmakers have come to say, Russia took the war to the doorstep of the Ukrainians, and that Donetsk is on fire. But now, you would agree with me that attention has shifted from Donetsk also to Russia. When I talk of Belgorod, when I talk of Kush, a territory in Russia. Don't you think that is a plus to Ukraine? I think so, that it is a plus to them. So, and Putin is only trying to be deceptive to his people. He's only trying to mislead his people. He's only trying to misrepresent issues and facts and figures with respect to the war to his people. But already, Ukraine is occupying some of Russia's territory. And there is also a possibility for a progress. And I think that they shouldn't entertain any form of fear. Rather, they should keep pushing forward. So that by the time they push forward and get to a better part of Russia, the Russians themselves, who are now feeling the impact of the war, would not want to believe what their leader is telling them.
How can you push forward when you lack the manpower? Don't forget that was the crowd.
What do you mean by lacking the manpower?
Already. For what he said they lacked the manpower.
Who said
they
so?
lacked President Zelensky, they lacked the equipment. They started bringing down the age of persons that they are going to come scribing to the military. So how are they going to sustain the push? What are you talking about?
Listen, already they've occupied some space in Russian territory.
Square miles, yes.
They can sit put there and begin to take steps gradually. It's a possibility. It's a possibility.
We are talking about people that cannot defend their territory in Ukraine.
Can Russia defend our territory when Ukraine now invaded that territory? Can Russia do? No. See, war. You cannot tell yourself that I am the master of the war. until perhaps you put it into test as it is just now, and probably conquer that territory. Nobody thought that Ukraine would survive 3 months into the war. Nobody thought that. But what is the position just now? I just told you today is the 900th day of the war, and it's still going. So we cannot now sit down as analysts and begin to run down the spirit of the Ukrainians. I don't want to be party to that. And even if the president Zelensky seems to be entertaining fears, maybe that is his style. From the beginning, we heard him, even into a few months into the war, he was shouting, "Oh, we don't have weapons, we don't have manpower." Yet he was prosecuting the war, even without manpower, without weapons, without armory. He was prosecuting the war. And today, they have succeeded in gaining entrance into some space in Russian territory. I think it's a plus for them. I think the man is only trying to be conservative, only trying to be careful with his language, because I see him as a civil general already, having gone this far to succeed to gain entrance into some space of Russia. It's a plus to them, and I think that is the spirit. Whether or not they are going to conscribe the age that has been reduced, even if they are going to bring child soldiers or children soldiers, as the case may be, as long as at the close of the day peace is achieved, I think it's a great deal for them.
As long as at the close of the day peace is achieved, now that is what everyone is looking for. Before we get to that aspect of peace, some are saying that this time around Zelensky is not listening to the major sponsors of this war, the US. US gave them a very stern warning. The weapons are going to give to you, don't target Moscow. Chase these Russian troops out of Ukraine. Do not, I repeat, do not go on the offensive in Russian territory. They violated that. Do they think there will be consequences? Because whether you believe it or not, there are some weapons right now Putin has not tested. Whether you want to believe it or not. Take it from that angle.
I have listened to your questions. Particularly the question put to my learned friend.
Yes.
Your aim was whether Putin will employ nuclear weapons. That was your aim.
Or Satan
Let me
too.
tell you.
Not going to that point. There are weapons that has this capability of disrupting so many parts of the country Russians have not used.
What weapon has Russia got that some other countries like America doesn't have? What weapons? You see, America's warning to Ukrainians was, do not target civilian areas in Russia. Target military installations, yes, we agree.
But these are civilian areas, so that Russia needs to evacuate their citizens from that particular area.
Look,
from Kursk and
look, my brother, let me tell you something straight.
Yes.
America cannot do anything if Ukraine decides to go into Moscow. The reason is that America has always been a double standard country. What's America doing about Israel? Killing thousands of Palestinians who are civilians. They make noise today, we're not giving you weapons. Tomorrow they are giving you double 200-kilogram bombs. Knowing very well that Israelis will target anywhere they like. Now Israelis are even going worse now because they see that America's attention is now the election in November. So why should Zelensky not take the opportunity to divert his soldiers into Russia?
And you think there will be consequences?
Let me explain to you one thing, my brother. What concerns the average American today is the election. And what concerns Joe Biden today is Kamala Harris should win the election. What concerns Trump today is that he should come back to the White House. So no American is looking at what's going on in Russia and Ukrainian war. So use this opportunity to get to the fringes of Moscow, if possible. I use the word if possible. Because I was a footballer. And Abiyasen taught us that the best form of defense was attack. And this is what is essentially going on in this war. Attack. Russia has the men. Russia has the weapons, like you have been saying. But Russia also have limitations.
What are these limitations?
The limitations are one. They've been telling lies to their people that we are on special operations in Ukraine, not that we are in a war. Now, two, the people in Russia will now feel that, we are not being ruled, even if it is 1 mile or 2 miles. We are not being ruled by foreigners. And we're told it is a special operation. They will rise up against Putin. Number three, this taking the war to the Russians is going to be an encouragement to Europeans who will now forget about America and decide to put more money and more weapons into the Ukrainians to be able to fight. Because Europeans have always been kowtowing the line of Russia. Kowtowing the line of America. They wait for America to take a decision before the Europeans take a decision. Now that they have election and Ukrainians have entered inside Russia, the Europeans will now be more energized to help the Ukrainians to prosecute the war. And finally, this war is becoming interesting to you and me. I'm an friend. Otherwise, this topic will not come up. This topic will not come up. It's becoming more interesting. So, if you talk of world powers, you say America, Germany, Britain, Russia, China. You're talking about world powers with nuclear capabilities, both in the air, submarine, in the sea, land, air, everything. But today, Ukraine is showing you that it is not the quantity, it is the quality.
It's not the quantity, but the quality. Okay. I'll come back to you. That's why I was saying that with this aggression, there will be no restriction to what Putin can do. After all, they violated the rule of their major supporter. Don't forget, Ukraine are complaining about money. If they're not pulled back, say that this is what they can get, they have to go sell some of their precious stones and metals to support the Ukrainian cause. Poland also is crying because of financial crunch. They promise to give out jets. It will not take them time to really train pilots. Germany, on the other hand, say they want to be on the fence. They can only give you 1 or 2 tanks. It all depends. That America, that is the major financier of the war, gave you a condition. You validated a condition. Do you think anyone right now will be in the path of Putin from doing what he threatened to do? Don't forget that as the war is ongoing, there will be this massive use of Russian jets. Take it up from there.
The question also can be in this manner. What is the intent of America in sponsoring Ukraine in the war with Russia? What's it? What does America stand to give benefits? And to my mind, I think America may just only want to go to test their political intelligence with respect to prosecuting war. This time around, They don't want to use military intelligence, but political intelligence. And I think the bottom line of this war is that America has an interest. And the interest is to see how she can also gain Ukrainian territory by having a kind of military alliance with Ukraine. And if that is the position, do you not think America will not be happier? America will not take the glory where Ukraine succeeds in invading Moscow? Do you think so?
Do you think they'll get to Moscow?
They can't get to any part of Russia.
They will get to Moscow.
They can't get to any part of Russia because already even Russia has violated the peace covenant by invading Ukraine. So if Russia can invade Ukraine, can violate the war crime,
2014 law agreement.
yes, then why do you think it is only Ukraine that will violate it? Russia started it all. And just now, Ukraine has made an attempt, and the attempt is successful. So I don't want you to throw it at us, to make it look like without Russia obeying stricto sensu the rules given to them by the United States of America may lead to their disadvantage. That may not be correct. Because the intent of the sponsor of Ukraine is something that is not made known to you and me. But we can, from what is happening, deduce the intent. And to my mind, I think that America is also interested in seeing Russia go down. So, and the step to ensure two things: either Russia can go down, or there should be a forceful peace between Russia and Ukraine. So either of these two may take place at the close of the day. So I see Ukraine progressing.
Now, some have said about this move of Ukraine, there is no restraint right now for Russia to expand its territory, going beyond the Donbass region, an incursion deep down to the heart of Ukrainian territory. After all, they're able to cross over to the Russian side. Do you see this happening?
If I got you right, are you saying Russians can now move deeper into Ukraine, or Ukraine can go deeper into Russia?
Either ways. But this time around, Russia have been stable in the sense that they're focusing more on the Donbass region.
Russia has,
but with this incursion, don't think Russia will go beyond this region because of what Ukraine.
They can't go anywhere.
You sure about it?
3 days ago, the nuclear plant in
Zaporozhye, yeah,
was on fire.
And they're trading blips.
Why is Russia occupying that place inside Ukraine? They are using that as a defense method, that the Ukrainians cannot target them inside that Zaporozhye nuclear plant because of the nuclear reactors, the fallout. Now, the Ukrainians have seen a way of putting pressure on Russia. Russia's pride, Chinese assistance, North Korea's assistance, are now shocked to see common Ukraine going into a superpower nation's territory.
But anybody can encroach on anybody's territory. Depends on the response of that territory.
Yes, that was what Russia did.
These are outskirts, but these are Russia is going deep into the towns and villages. These are
They
outskirts.
cannot. They cannot, because right now, Russia's immediate attention is to defend their territory. Please look at it carefully. How can I be assisting my neighbor to quench the fire in his house when my house is on fire? I have to take care of my house first. So Russia is not going to be involved in targeting Kiev. They want to, first of all, defend their own territory. And how do you do that? Is to put some troops. Or is Russia going to now conscript another 300,000 civilians?
You never can tell.
Even if they do that.
You never can tell.
Even if they do that. What stops Ukraine to lowering the age of conscription into war to 17?
But that'll become war crime.
What war crime?
That's called a war crime.
Oh, please. Seriously.
In defending your territory?
What? In defending your territory? What war crime? After all, Israel is saying they are defending their own territory by killing thousands of, over 40,000 Palestinians. They say they are defending their territory. And America is supporting them. So what war crime will Ukraine commit? Is it Russia that has invaded their territory against all international norms and laws? Is it Russia that has disobeyed all UN entities? Is it Russia that has disobeyed every known military laws by killing civilians in Ukraine? Come on. Lowering the age of to 17 is a form of defense. And take more people to the war front. Since they don't have the money to buy Africans as mercenaries. After all, Russia is now coming to Africa and collecting Africans as mercenaries. Mind you, the economy of Russia is in tatters.
That might not be correct because the reports we are having that their currency is getting stronger and stronger. It's been doing better than what it used to be. Unless you want to go with the Russian propaganda right now.
Excuse me, sir. Is your naira not getting stronger? Every day. Negatively. So the Russians are feeling the pinch of being isolated from the world economic spectrum. And there's a limit to which they can conscript. Right now, they are paying anybody who can go to the battlefield $10,000. And the economy is not progressing. There's a limit to which you can, even you, Wilson, can spend money. When you spend money to that extent, you begin to borrow. And when you borrow, there's a limit. The Chinese have nothing to lose by urging Russians to go into the war. The North Koreans, who are the most vociferous supporters of Russia, also have a limit. Most of their citizens are prisoners. They are now testing weapons to see how they can knock Washington far away. So they will get to a point where they will tell Russia, please, defend your territory from these invaders. I would like to use the word invaders. So if you look at the crisis, it is in the interest of Russia right now to reach out to the Europeans, to the Americans. In fact, the analysis we are even getting now is that assuming Trump even wins, Trump can't abandon Ukraine in this war. So it means Americans will continue to be there. And to one of the last question to my left friend, it is in the interest of America to have a listening ear close to the Russian territory. Finland is now in Europe. Sweden is now in Europe. Why not add Ukraine? So that all the territories that have borders with Russia will be in Europe. And you can put in your weapons to be listening to what is happening in Russia.
That is where we are coming
that is
to.
Why Russia is afraid.
And that was the reason why Russia started this war.
by invading another man's country.
Their territorial integrity, security-wise.
You have
This is your analysis.
You have no
Hold on.
territorial integrity
Okay, hold on.
by invading another man's country.
Barrister, hold on. Now, you just...
Put weapons that will
Barrister.
deter those weapons in Finland, Sweden from listening.
Let it call espionage. But Barrister, hold on. Now, this was what I was talking about. And this was what really caused the war. With all this analysis, do you think Russia will just fold his arm and say, okay, Ukraine, they are there, they won't do nothing about it? Knowing fully well as it stands right now, what people rightly said, America is distracted because of the election. Everything Putin, because of this insult, so to speak, or this irritation, we go all out. Releasing bombs, releasing planes and all that. They have not released right from the onset of this war. And that will be detrimental to the Ukrainians.
Don't you also
Mind
think,
you, Ukraine as it stands right now don't have the Air Force might.
They have now.
Hold on. They don't have the Air Force might as it stands, according to reports, as it stands right now. If Russia chooses to take that particular measure, how do you think this will go?
Well, I can see that you are emotionally in support with
I'm just asking the question.
with Russia.
I am just asking the question because we are weighing odds right now.
Yes. Looking at the war, how it started, what caused the war, what was the temptation that Russia felt she cannot overcome unless and until she goes to the war. And now she started the prosecution of the war. And today the war has clocked 900 days.
They call it special military operation.
Special.
Yes.
But now it is no longer special. You see?
But so why are you giving me that look? Military operation.
You see?
That's what they called it.
Yes.
Don't you have a freedom to look at you?
All right.
And that is the deception in all the drama.
Yes.
The whole world has witnessed. And that's why, Putin was so boastful even before the commencement, the prosecution of the war. He tried to advertise some of the weapons he had. He even brought one he called Satan II and threatened the whole globe, threatened the peace of the world, that when he releases that, it is not just Ukraine that will suffer, but every part of the world will feel the impact of that weapon. And she started by taking the war to the doorstep of Ukraine. And after some time, Ukraine has also seen that, should we allow the prosecution of this war to just be at our doorstep, it may be detrimental, it may not spare or augur well for us. And she too has taken steps to invade the Russian territory. And today, she is occupying some parts of Russia. And like I did say, there is a possibility of a progress to Moscow. There's a very much possibility. So, in all, the invasion on both sides now, the occupation of each other territory now, when you look at it by arithmetically, you will see that if the war continues in a few days or few months, there will not be need for peace. And I think that is the intention of Ukraine, to say, since you have refused to give peace a chance by mere appeal or appeals, as the case may be, then let us take this step. So by the time the Russians, who are now feeling the impact, are now crying out, don't you think there will be need for Putin to also have some form of restraint? And that is how I see it going. So it's a well-calculated military tactics for me. So they should continue, they should remain there, because the war, like I did say, the attention of the war being in Donetsk has been shifted. Kiev, the capital of Ukraine, that is being attempted to be taken over, to be occupied by Russia, they have not succeeded in that. And now Ukraine, on the other hand, is now in occupation of some space in the Russian territory. So I think if Putin is reasonable enough, this is the time and moment to give peace a chance.
And do you see Peter giving peace a chance, according to what he just said? Do you see Peter being pushed to the wall by these incursions to say, okay, fine.
Let me tell you straight away, Wilson. Russia has no other option than to go through the back door and meet the sponsors of Ukraine to ask for a peace deal. They have no other option. Because if they try nuclear weapons, they have tried everything. If they try nuclear weapon, then Russia is finished overnight. If you are an international affairs student like I am, I'm not an expert, I'm a student. Iran was supposed to attack Israel within 24 hours yesterday.
And they want not to.
My TV, all my TV stations are all on CNN and Al Jazeera in my house, even as I'm here, to see when Iran will attack. But when I saw the armada of weapons America put in the Mediterranean Sea, some yet to be tested, and they are looking for an opportunity to test them, Russia should be very careful. Because if you have not tested your own weapons, you don't know what America too also want to test. Why not go for peace? Particularly when the Russian civilians begins to feel the impact of the so-called special operation, now war. They will rise up against Putin. There's a limit to what the security forces can do when they themselves know that all along we have been deceived all along. So peace deal. Because already Donetsk and other areas they are occupying right now are in the Russian constitution as part of Russia. Who is going to fold his hands? Even when I don't like Nigeria, do you think I would like Cameroon to invade Nigeria and I'll fold my hands? I won't. In my language, we say, Omali, the Yofi Owosi.
Let's interpret.
Which means it is only a bastard. They use left hand to point to him and say, this is your father's house. I won't stay here and allow Cameroon or Ghana to come and invade Nigeria. That's what the Ukrainians are doing. You see, it is, like I told you before, it's not the quantity of troops. It is the quality. And look at the weapons that America has released. Let me tell you, no country in Europe has 80 F-16 right now. No country in Europe has 80 F-16. But Ukraine, as I'm talking to you right now, as at last week, they have 80 F-16.
Can they operate it effectively?
Oh, they be trained, and
that's the question.
Yes, they are ready to. They are ready to. Look, let me tell you, you have been showing some
yes,
from your TV.
Yes,
and I saw an F-16 flying over Ukrainian troops inside Russia. I saw an F-16. So, my brother, I have told you, if this incursion into Russia is not a progress, you won't have brought this topic.
All right. So you say Peter will go to the back door to ask for peace.
For peace.
What about you? Do you share his opinion?
Yes, absolutely. Because the only golden egg available now for Putin is peace. If not, it may be hit by surprises.
Surprises? All right, thank you so much, gentlemen. Let's see how all this will pan out. 1,000 square meter inch has been occupied by the Ukrainian forces. Putin said, no, we are going to chase out these irritants, and they've started already. How far do you think Ukrainians can go to prove a point? Do you think this is going to irritate them? That Putin, never making him to unleash the weapon he's yet to release in this special military operation. That's what they said it is. Do you see them going beyond the Donbass region because of what Ukraine did? Or they will chase them all out? Or can Ukraine really hurt Moscow? That's a question hanging. Only time definitely will tell. Gentlemen, thank you so much for a wonderful analysis. Let's see how all this will pan out. We'll do it again next week, Tuesday, God willing. Bye for now.